Welcome to this 1900 start series for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. In the last part, we were working on building up our road infrastructure in order to be able to start really developing our two starter towns. And in this part, what I'd like to do is carry on with that process, maybe make a start planning this starter town here, which is going to be quite important. So I do need to try and push on with it. Now, at the end of the last part, I was talking about getting this gravel road connection built. You can see it's now underway because we're now picking up on the 18th of October 1900, which is, I think, about 3-4 months on from the end of the last part, because until we've got this done, we can't do anything else beyond just planning. Over here, where I still need to do a little bit more work, progress is coming along quite nicely. You can see that we are now getting close to working on this bridge. Now, one thing I do want to do here is set up a little bit of a demo. So what we're going to need is a free road depot here. Just going to drop it in. We're not going to keep it for long, so there's no point being too fussy about where it gets placed. And what I want to do is pick up this first truck here. This is an open hole truck, and bring him down to here, and we're just going to let the game run, let it run at high speed, and we're just going to wait for him to come down. And while we're doing that, I'll just give you an update of where we are. We are working towards finishing these footpaths. We've nearly got all the road connections into here. I've started with some of the groundworks on these buildings. What I'm doing at the moment is just doing the groundworks, because if you build one of these buildings, especially with an early start like this, then you leave it, it will start incurring maintenance. But buildings which aren't actually fully complete don't incur maintenance. So what you can do is start building them, and it also removes the risk of fire, because part-built buildings don't burn down. And you can see we've got a lot to build in here. So what I'm doing at the moment is just doing the groundwork, so it doesn't cost anything in workforce, because we can do it with the excavators. So that's something else that we want to work on. You can see here we are slowly building the bridge up. Right, this guy's here now. What I'm going to do now is buy a fairly interesting mod. We come to paver, so we've got this little come in here. You can see it's a paver speed level 12, and we're going to buy it now. Of course, in order to be able to move it, we've actually got to use a truck. So if we come in here, just want to make sure, show vehicles that can be used, workshop. Yeah, this open truck can do it. So what we're going to do is pick you up, tell you to go there, pick up this vehicle here, and then go there and drop off. Now I'm going to have to follow him. So we're just going to come here, because I want that truck back in that construction office there. So we're just going to have to follow him very, very, let him just trundle along, doing his thing. Just let me tag him along. Well, upon reflection, what I should have done is built this one first, not this one. And what you will see is he should go in. Now this is a covered hole truck, so hopefully he will pick up what we've got. Yeah, I think he's picked it up. You can see it's the paver crew now is actually on here. Now the reason I'm following him is that he should drop off the paver crew, and then what I want him to do is go to there, and he should. So I want to make sure that he will stay in there. So you can see we've got the paver crew here, and what I'm going to do now is actually allocate him to this. Now, one thing I have noticed, and I'll show you now, that I haven't got this delivered only with trucks. What I have noticed is that these actual excavators actually are being carried by these trucks. You can see this guy's now picked this up. So if we now follow him, what he will do is drop off, because the road bridge that we're actually building is got a equivalent of an asphalt road on it. The last couple of stages is it has to be paved, and then it has to be rolled. There's nothing we can do about the rolling, but we can certainly do something about the paving. So what you'll see now is he will come down to here. This bridge here is quite interesting because the truck I didn't know, there we are, you can see it's now been dropped off here. See, so what we've got now is a combination of the paver crew, which will speed up the overall process. Let me just get rid of that. Don't need him there. But what he will do is, as the asphalt trucks arrive, what will happen is they will actually paver through here. But what we need is the asphalt trucks. I think the asphalt trucks are just coming along. So while this is a very simple mod, it will make a difference if you've got any buildings like this. And if you can't, I don't know if you can actually see it, but you can see now that we've got this here, and kind of the animation behind is just here, and you can see that this is speeding up the actual asphalt process. I say it won't win any awards if you're building a major road, but for footpaths, which I will be building a few asphalt footpaths, it will make a bit of a difference. Now, the first thing I really want to do here, you can see the rain's fallen down now. If we've got any vehicles moving on mud roads, show the effect of the speed. So we got this guy here. Oh, it's stopped raining already. What we got over here is we've got this being built in. What I'm trying to do is get all this built through here, because this is going to be our main road. Eventually this will disappear. Now what I want to do up here is a couple of things. The first thing I want to do is, originally I was going to put my heating plant down here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the heating plant up here, because I was looking at this while I was kind of just letting the roads build, and I thought, well, I could make this into quite a useful area, but we're probably going to need to remove at least this field. In fact, I think I'm going to remove two fields, because the fields themselves aren't much use at the moment. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm kind of thinking I'd like to put some houses there. Let me just see. Housing. I want something that's in historical context. I think I've got historical. We've got historic apartments. These have got 84%. We've got historic ward. This is 88%. Wow. That looks pretty cool. I like that. And it's even got an in. We could put it in on the corner there like that, but we'd have to flip it that way. You flip it again. Shouldn't have flipped it. I think I will put this in here. This will take 100 workers. Yeah, we'll put you right on this corner. We won't put the road in just yet. This is more as a marker. And we've also got historic apartment. We've also got, if I remove you and go to we've got the Jade apartments. These are really nice, kind of tight infillers. I don't think I'll make a decision on that, but what I will do is we're going to put a gravel footpath out like that. Now what I need to do is leave enough room for trash collection, which is what we've got here. Although strictly speaking, we don't need trash collection from the beginning. We could put that there. We could possibly run a footpath across through there as well. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. What I'm trying to do is that I want to put a heating plant in. Now I'm going to use the one that I use quite regularly for early starts. It's this one here. It gives 100 kilojoules. It can, and it's got a hot water tank of 600 cubic meters. And if I kind of show it to you now, we've got basically, you've got this capacity here, which it can heat a small town, and it is pretty efficient. Also, the fact that because it burns wood, you can get a fully self-sustaining system going. I'm kind of thinking about there. What you see here, it does produce pollution, but you can kind of push your luck a little bit with respect to pollution, simply on the fact that heating plants, when you're playing on the normal map, only run about half the year. So what will happen is that any pollution that builds up, if it doesn't build up too high, will dissipate. So I'm kind of thinking, yeah, I'm quite liking this. Whoops. And I think I'd like to get some reasonable coverage. I'd like to cover those small houses in the top right. I think what we'll do is we'll put you, I can pull you back a little bit so that we can kind of work with some of the pollution. So we're going to put a heating plant there, and of course what we're going to need now is an open hole. I kind of want to stretch this out. Actually, can I put it, if I put it that way, yeah, if I can push that out that way, because this will store the wood logs, we can put you about there. I'm trying to keep the factory connections as short as possible, because these are awkward to build. And it doesn't matter if I do put a short one in, simply because we're not going to be using any fancy equipment. So what we need now is the wood cutting post. I think, again, I'd like, I put you there. We're going to have to put some more trees in. I can get you. How much pollution does the wood cutting post does? Doesn't seem to produce any at all. If I can get you about there. Battery connection. That's not going to do it, is it? I think what we need to do is twist you a little bit more. I think actually if I put you actually no, if I can put you a bit more squarer on like that. I don't want to get into bridges and things just at this point in the game. Let me just see. That will run quite nicely actually, if we can put a super long to the wood cutting post, actually something like that. Get that as long as possible so you can stretch this way. Actually no, if I can get you down to about there. Thank you, game. Yeah, if we can get you there. Let's just put the road in. You can come there. Let's put you in there. Just see what the walking distance is like. But actually, we're definitely going to need to put some accommodation in here. Although that's not that far. Now, what I want to do on this side is to see where the factory connections are. We've got a factory connection there. We need to put the road connection in. Just put you there. Now, what I want, we're going to get, this is going to cut the wood, which is going to come into there, which is going to run the heating plant. But the other thing I want to do to try and cut my costs down a bit is clear that wood is I want to put a very small wood cutting post in. So we're just going to tuck you in about something like that. And then if we go to storage, clear you. This isn't something that's going to be long term. This is just to kind of cut down the initial costs a little bit. Plus, it kind of fits with when you're starting in 1900. The idea is to give that flavour of a small self-contained community that that's kind of bobbing along, kind of doing it. So if we put that in there, this is only a very small store. It will only hold 30 tons of boards, but 30 tons of boards would be more than enough to begin with when we're initial building. So that now that we got one more building to fit in, if we go to factories, in fact we've got a few more buildings to fit in. We've got Tudor linen factory. Now what this does, it actually produces fabric from crops and wood. So what I want to do is run you, actually we'll remove that road a bit. There, back to there. I'll bring you round like that. So, okay, we got a water issue. No, we haven't. If I can get that there, that would be brilliant. So we get a Tudor linen factory there. What's the workforce? I can never remember. This is 50, so we're going to need 150 people there. And then we're going to need a warehouse. Let me think. We don't have that much range in options for warehouse. That's too big. That's too chunky. We've got a Tudor warehouse here, which will hold 240 tons of. If I can back you up behind there. Now this warehouse has got to hold both the output in the form of fabric and also the crops. So let me just see. This only takes 10 tons of crops per day. Again, this isn't really going to be a major production industry. I think if we can get you just curved in on that side there, and then what we're going to do now is we've got a Tudor clothing factory here, and then what I can do is bring you round like that, something like that. So this could hold crops and fabric, and then what I will do is come to here, storage again. Actually, why am I doing that? I can do it from this point. Let me just see. And what we'll do is we'll just tuck a Tudor warehouse on there like that. Just tucked on the back there. Something like that. And actually, then what we can do is rework this road to come in here. So what I've effectively created here is we've got wood cutting posts there. We've got a little bit of boards which will cut down our costs, heating plant, and of course what we've got here is our first kind of industry. But I want to emphasize this industry is more to do, especially initially, with actually how can you put it, keeping my economy alive, serving the residents rather than actually doing it. But hopefully if we can get a surplus going, we will make some money. In fact, let me just check the range of the wood cutting post. The wood cutting post will go out that far, so I think what I will do is we're gonna have the trees cutting out round here. I think what I will do is, can I get some fields in here? There's no point putting large fields in here. I think if I can, we're gonna wait for that road to be built. So that gets our little industry going. We can get some residential staff here, which will drive it. What I will do is come here, plant some pines, and we will put some trees in here. Hopefully, I think I'll leave these fields for the moment. And of course, that we'll get the heating plant going. Right, so the one thing we may have a problem with is water. And where did I put the water? Okay, the water thingy is there. Very technical term, the water thingy. We're not really going to cover that area there, are we? I really need some water back this way, don't I? If we're going to develop, see, that's out of range, the water thing. So that's going to be, that could prove a problem. Can I get this in a bit tighter? This is the heating plant. Let's see if I can get the wood cutting plant in a little bit more tighter than that. Actually, if I think, well, if I could get that, say something like that. Will that, if I put a water, still not going to be quite there, is it? I think what I'm going to have to do is, where's the footpath? The footpaths are there. I think we're going to have to put a water distribution right on the. So how much overlap will I get from that? That goes to there. Actually, I could put the water distribution just out here. If I put it there, that will cover. Let me just see. Where is it? It's there, isn't it? That will cover into there, but it doesn't cover that block up building on the side here. I think if I put a water pump pipeline just there, maybe push it out a little bit like that. We've got that there, but we've also got, I'm reluctant to bring, I suppose I could bring a water feed. Actually, what I could do, we haven't built any of the pipes yet, have we? So if I break that there and put a where's the pipe? Think about these water switches. You can never tell. Okay, we're just going to put you there. Put you there like that. Do I want to keep this? I think I will, because I might want to put a spur down there, but I'm going to be very careful not to overload the actual kind of pipeline. I think we'll come in just like that, and just want to check. Yeah, the path can come to there. Going to be a bit skewy withy, but that will connect into there. So that gives us our water assembly thingies. Right, is this bridge finished? Yes, it is. Good. I need these guys to start bringing in. Just make sure you. Where's my road crew? We've got a footpath there that's now finished. That should now ensure that I've got connections there. And of course, what we will do is, I think I'd like to put in, what have we got here? Just trim you back. There's a distortion there. And then I think I do an asphalt footpath with. Hopefully that won't disturb the. Get rid of that, and we'll get that. Get the guys. Get them building that now. Oh yeah, this is what I was saying is that without any request from me, these will actually carry the excavators out to that direction there. Right, so we've now got this here. We've now got the heating plant done. I just want to get up over here because I say I do want this to get a little bit of momentum in itself. It's still not there. It's going to be a painful process. One thing I'm kind of thinking of actually developing this road, but maybe not from here because that's a bit, I don't know, it's not that close, is it? But I would like to keep this area maybe for something else. But I think coming in here, because what I'm thinking is that we're going to have the shopping centre here. Maybe remove that, fields there. Because at the moment we've got that road there, which comes in there, but we've got this road. There's a road here, isn't there? I think what I'm going to do is we will kind of put a road there, and then we'll probably leave this as an access road. How many tons of gravel part of me says come down here. 86 tons of gravel. We've got to get this finished, otherwise we'll just mess the whole process up. So we might as well go back to Eastleigh and see what we can, because the next, what I need to do is that we've got this way down here, which is gonna, I need to connect this with a footpath. And of course what we are going to need now is to work a little bit on our kind of waste disposal. We must, and what I like to do is match where I put a water reservoir is where I will put in the kind of sewage disposal, because then it's kind of, as long as you kind of plan this well, it normally works in the sense that so we're just going to hook that there. We can start hooking in some of these kind of buildings now. We can get that there. I really do need to get these built in, but because we can get the connection to there, we can then get rid of this road here. I will remove that road. That will kind of, we can leave this road in simply because we're going to have to demolish this bridge eventually, but I don't really want to put too much into that. And the other kind of sanitation pickup point is going to be over here. So if I put this slightly because we do have a bit of an overlap. We could put that's going to need to connect. So if I put you about, actually we could put this in, say, alongside this like this, and create a kind of sanitation tank capability. We won't put the footpaths in just yet, because I'm not sure if this, actually this road is a bit lopsided. Let me just kind of remove you and put you there. That's a bit better. Then we can hook you in there. That kind of puts these guys out in the middle, but that's okay. We can work around that. So now I've got that sanitation there. We got to run a sewage pipe all the way down to there, which is a long way. So we've got to put in a, let's look at the terrain. That's good, it drops off. I want to keep the kind of pipelines short because it's going to cost us money to build it. I think if we put you about there, and then of course we always build with great big pipes, sewage pipes. You can come into there. I think we could get you come to there. I think for a little bit of future proofing, we're going to do this. Actually, I need super future proofing, don't I? Let me just accept that, but remove that and that. Right. Come in here. Sewage discharge. What am I thinking of? Underground pipe work. I've got some sewage facilities. Got a sewage switch. That's what I'm looking for. Doesn't take much to build. What I'm looking to do is, if I put you, that's down there. I don't need anything massively elaborate. Let's just get rid of that. That says 5. That's 3-1. That's the sewage pump. I just want a switch. Don't understand. That says -7. This won't cost that much. This is 3-3. What I'm doing here is I want to put something like that in. We'll put it down about here. We'll run a pipe to this here, center. And the idea is that when the time comes to actually modernize the sewage system, because this has got 3 in, 3 out, the idea is going to be is that rather than having to renew the whole sewage supply system, what we will do is put the water treatment plant down here and then connect it up to the existing system, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's a nice piece of future proofing. This is something you do need to think about when you are doing an early start, is this degree of future proofing, thinking, well, what do I want to do? Is again returning to this area. eventually it's a very strong possibility that, like for example, this little bit I built here will disappear. And depending on how well the farming works out, we may even eventually get rid of the clothing industry here. Although, to be honest, the fabric production, which is this one here, the linen factory, could be useful because, of course, one of the problems you get long term is the fact that you're going to need fabric for vehicle repair and maintenance. So we're now in winter. Now, one thing I am going to talk a little bit about now is the fact that it's snowing. So we look at this vehicle here, he's still doing 17, 18 kilometers an hour. Now, if I go and show you the snow plows, so if we come here and look at snow plows, you'll see here we've got the reindeer snow plow. This one's got a ploughing speed of 22, and then the other option is the thoroughbred farmhouse, which has got a ploughing speed of 14 kilometers an hour. Now, the question you've got to ask is that if you've got trucks that move at over 20 kilometers an hour, what's the benefit in ploughing? So that's something, again, that you need to kind of think a little bit about with respect to getting everything built. Let me just see. You can see this guy here. So he's still doing 18 kilometers an hour, which is pretty close to his top speed, even though the fact that you were on mud roads and the slowing. So it's almost like, is there any value? Now, what I will say is, if you do feel the need to clear the fields, there isn't a mod available. It's part of Novu's mods. Clear everything is this thing here. This is called a street sweeper. It does need power. Unfortunately, it requires 10 workforce. And what happens is if you build this, it creates a circle which clears all the snow away. So you get a circle on the map which is actually clears all the snow away. And what it does is it produces a very tiny amount of gravel. You can see 0.1 tons of gravel per workday. So if you imagine this runs for 30 work days, you will get a little bit of gravel. So if you do use these, you've got to find some way to pick the gravel up. And what I tend to do is use those to plug gaps once I get a feel for what's going on. But I think at the moment we don't really need that. Anyway, we've now designed the sewage system here, and I just wanted to have a bit of recap. We've got the hospital, we've got the indoor pool, we've got the school, we've got the opera house, which is culture, we've got the education, we've got the corner kindergarten, we've got the food market here. I'm still debating on whether this needs a warehouse, but we can do that after we remove this road here. We've got the fire station. We've now got our heating plant. We've got our water over here, which we can still use. I'm kind of thinking, I'm just thinking about where I could put a field in. We could possibly drop a field in there. That's an option. I'll just put a field in there for the moment, because ideally what we're going to need is crops. The problem is how we're actually going to drive the farm. I really like the idea of putting some fields over here. I mean, we're not talking about a major mega farm. Those will come later. This is just going to be a local farm, which we can do it. Now, there are other options for food, which I will talk about if I come into mods. If I get rid of you and put, I think, is it grape? We've got this grape vineyard, which needs, trouble is these need 50 workers, and that's going to put a lot, which if you multiply by 3. Now, these are also seasonal. You can see they also need water. And what these do is they produce 1 ton of food per day. So that is a possible option from a food perspective. Another possible early food option, although it's going to be a bit tricky to get sorted out. There is a mod which, let me just see. As you may guess, that at this point in the game, you do really need to be familiar with your what we call it, landfill. Oh, that's true. Yeah, waste. Getting distracted. Oh, here we are. We got a smokehouse, whole grain building, Tudor brewery. Let's just put in. Oh, here we are. This is what I'm after. This hunting hut. It does produce a lot of 1 ton of waste, and that pollution will spread, but it will turn 0.4 tons of food and 0.05 tons of alcohol into half a ton of meat. These again are a fairly early way that you can make some money. Anyway, just keep these guys going. How are you doing? I don't want all these guys sat around doing nothing. Has this been built? No. Okay, let me just get somebody on that as well. And I think what we'll do is queue up a couple of jobs that need to be done. Again, the focus is very much on roads at the moment. We need this built and then this bit built. Once this is built, that can go, and then we can start focusing on building, putting together the buildings. Anyway, let's just shoot over to here. Good. It's nearly there. Nearly there. So once we've got this connection, we'll leave that grab there. It's finally done it. Okay, thank you, game. We're gonna now get that going there. Get the guys working on that. We need this road built. It's going to take a very long time. That's the trouble. I think while we're here, I'm going to start thinking a little bit about. I think I would like I'm going to put the shopping mall or the shop again. We're going to need the actual. What we got here. Corner market V2. Problem we got here is the fact that the road is over there. Let me just see if we put the shopping, put the shop there, that would eventually get in. It's not going to cover as much as I would like. What's there? There's a road there. We'll just I have to get rid of this field. Sorry. I think I would like the shopping mall to actually be in this corner here. Where just back the store in here. Yeah, that's going to give me a lot better coverage. And that will also mean that I can put a warehouse out the back here. Or warehouse again. I think we'll go for a Tudor warehouse. We're building quite a lot of Tudor warehouses. I think, yeah, if we can get something like that tucked in the back here. Like that. How many drop-off points have you got? For loading and unloading, you've got 3. Which is pretty good. Get you in really close like that. We got that there. And of course it means that what we can do is put my other second favourite building is we'll put the historic hospital. We can tuck you in really tight up against there. Like that. This will cover virtually the whole town. We're probably going to expand this way, but I think part of me also says, These guys doing nothing. Can I get some leveling done? Because I would like, if possible, is to push out this way. Okay. This is not going to be as easy as I thought it would. Only because these guys don't really have the nous for it. Okay, this is not... I mean, it will get there eventually, but... okay, I may need to rethink my strategy. Let me just see if I can... Yeah, these guys don't really have it. Okay, so I've kind of just messed up the terrain here. What we're going to have to do is work for it, and then what we're going to have to do is kind of bring a road through here and bridge here and leave reclaiming this to the point when we've actually got some excavators that can make a big impact. So I'm going to need to think about what's the terrain like here. Alright, I need to think about sewage disposal. I know it's not attractive, but what is the height here? Is that... Let me just check the height. Oops. These guys are 14, 12, 8, 7, 1, 2. Okay, I think what we're going to do is we're probably never going to reclaim this area. So if I put in a sewage discharge about there. Again, it's going to be far enough away. A little bit close though. But I think I can work with this. We'll just have to be a little bit careful with respect to what we're actually doing. And of course, the heating problem is going to be exactly the same, but what we're probably going to need to do is put the heating here. I've got a feeling these fields will have to go. In fact, I might as well zap them now. These are... We don't have enough room here. I mean, they were mainly put here for aesthetic effects for the map, so we get that there. I think at the moment I need... what we're going to do is just leave these till spring. We're on the 30th of December already. I think I'd rather concentrate on Eastleigh at the moment and try and get this kind of all together. Right, we've got one more bit of road that needs to be built. Get the guys on that. Still doing 17 kilometers an hour with snow on the ground, so that's good. I've got guys sat around here doing nothing. Do you have the footpath connections in? I think there is a footpath connection there. I think what we'll do is we'll start getting the groundworks done on here. Because we've got a concrete mixer here. Yeah, you're the cement guy. What are you? What are you? You're a steam hauler. You can move steel, so you're okay. What are you? You're the omnibus guys. I don't want them working until I have to pay for any, because I'm quite happy to do the groundworks at the moment. So at the moment we've only got the one concrete guy. Kind of part of me says, do we get... I think we might need to throw some more resources at this now. How are we doing here? I think what I will do is we'll just slip. Because I don't really want to use all my free construction offices down here. I think if we kind of tuck it... Actually, I've just had a thought. Construction office. I just had a thought. Where is my... I want a tiny horse barn. What I'm thinking is it time to build a construction of this close in, because we are going to need to think about maintenance. Actually, let me just clear that and clear that. I just need to check something. I can't remember. Okay. So the horse veterinarian is available. But I'm pretty sure the other building that I need for it to go with me isn't available. Now, if you're not sure what the horse veterinarian is, this is actually part of the Nova's horse thing. And what you see here, I'll just try and explain how it actually works. What you see is it's got an input of an input of crops and wood, but it doesn't actually use them. What you've got below that, it says import plastics, electro components, fabric, mechanical components, electronics, steel and aluminium. Now, the way this actually works is that there is another building that goes with this called a converter, and what you do is you put the crops and wood into the horse veterinarian. Then it goes to the converter that's connected to it, which then produces, I don't know if I can actually find it. If we go horse, here, you see it's actually, the actual converter is behind research, so you can't build it straight away. I think it's these ones here where it says semiconductors. So to unlock that, what we would have to do is come down here. I don't know, but we can't get those until 1932. So what we'd have to do is, if we wanted to use the veterinarian setup, I think we can just do it from here. Actually, I think the veterinarian is here, horse veterinarian. We would have to deliver the plastics, electronics into there, and it does have a very small amount of storage within this, the horse veterinarian. But I think I need to think about that. I've got to refresh my mind on how it actually works. Actually, I've just realised that I'm running out of time on this. So what I'm going to do to try and explain this a little bit better is I'm going to cut the video here on this map, and then I'm going to load my Grand Design series in, and I'll show you how it actually works. Welcome back. We can see here I'm now in my Grand Design series, and this is the setup with the veterinarian here. You can see it's got a maximum workforce of 15, and you can see the crops in here and the wood. Now, keeping this regularly supplied can be a little bit of a challenge, but bear in mind that the veterinarian doesn't consume the crops and the wood. What it does is it has the crops and the woods, and then it goes to this thing called a horse converter, which then takes the crops and wood and produces these very small amounts of plastic, mechanical components, aluminium and electronics. Now you see that this does not have any storage whatsoever, so you can't deliver to this. This has to be connected either to the horse veterinarian directly, or what you can do is put a warehouse in between. But be aware that if you put a warehouse here, you will still have to deal with the steel, which can, and if I come to the mod and show you the actual converters, what you'll find is they do have two connections. So you could, like, for example, put a small storage out of this when it's producing to take the steel. One tip I will give you is that there are two versions of this. The one version produces only the basics for repairs. This one, which is a little bit more of a quirk, also produces aluminium. So what I would strongly suggest is that if you're starting out early in the game, what you need to do is build the basic horse converter, not the V2 converter. That's the mistake that I made here. So I was in 1920, 1930, and I was having to deal with aluminium. And the downside of that is that you can see here that this is producing aluminium, which is then taking up the storage which is needed for the steel, because this also produces a tiny 0.5 tons of steel. So it's a bit of, so while it's very useful, it's also a bit complicated, especially keeping everything supplied here, because the actual veterinarian, if I can find it, where is it? You can see that you've got the two connections there. So, but be aware that the course converter will not pull through the veterinarian. So you can't cheat a bit and say, right, I'm going to put an open store on the other side, or for the crops or something like that. So say the one scenario I did run, in fact I've actually knocked it down now, it was here, was that I had the veterinarian connected to a warehouse which I could deliver to, and then I also put crops in there. But what I then had to do was put in an open store on this side to feed in the wood, and also take out the steel. So it gets a little bit complicated. So this is the far the more better solution. But of course, as I mentioned, this actually needs to be, can't be unlocked until you've got electronics. So we can't use it for 1932. So, but what we could do is set this up, the simple version, deliver steel, fabric, electronics. You can see you can only deliver very small quantities to this. This is why you need the converter in order to be able to do that. So it's just an option that I wanted to talk about. You can see I've got quite a nice setup here, and the fact that this actual veterinarian, if I show you, covers all these buildings in here, and that's why you've got the long kind of factory connection going out the edge there. So I'm covering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buildings from this single little converter here. Anyways, this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you found it interesting. And until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.